You have probably seen beautiful resin trays, kitchen coasters online, and you thought this is really amazing and I want to try this out. But then you start researching and you realize something. What exactly is resin? Why does it behave the way it does? And why does everyone keep talking about mixing ratios and curing times? If you are confused, don't worry because today we are breaking it down in a simple and beginner friendly way. Hi everyone, welcome to Sprinkle of Resin. My name is Chamaka, and on this channel we make resin art simple, practical and beginner friendly. Let's get started. Let's start with the most important question. What exactly is resin? Resin is a liquid material that hardens into a solid, durable, plastic-like finish through a chemical process. I know that sounds very scientific, but don't worry, let's break it down. Imagine baking a cake. You combine the ingredients, mix them properly, and after some time, something completely different is created. And that's the cake you baked. Yes, resin is similar to that. You mix your liquid resin, add your pigments, and after some time, it solidifies, which means that's your end product. The solid part is now the end product, just like the way you baked your cake. So it's the same thing. Resin usually have two parts. One is called part A, which is usually the resin, and the other is called part B, which is the hardener. When these two are mixed together, they react with each other and eventually becomes solid. That's why resin can transform from a liquid into beautiful trays, coasters, kitchen, and many other things. Now, why do people love resin art? One reason resin art is so popular now is because it gives endless creative possibilities. With resin, you can play with colors, glitters, pigments, foil flakes, photographs, and different textures. One thing I love about resin art is that no two piece is exactly the same. You can have an idea in your head and you bring it to life in a completely unique way. Resin is very versatile. You can use resin to make home decors, jewelries, souvenirs, business products, so many things. That's one thing I love about resin art. I like to believe that with resin you can make anything. Like you can make anything. So far as you can think about it, you can actually make it with resin. So resin is very versatile. Types of resin. Now let's talk about something that confuses a lot of beginners. Not all resin is the same. Yes, not all resin is the same. Different projects requires different types of resin. Yes, we have epoxy resin. Epoxy resin is the most popular type of resin for beginners. It's commonly used for trays, coasters, kitchens, decorative projects. It's beginner friendly and it gives enough working time to create. Then we have UV resin. Difference between epoxy resin and UV resin is that epoxy resin takes up to 24 hours to cure, while UV resin cures in seconds under a UV lamp. Then again, UV resin is used for smaller projects like earrings, keychains, pendants, but epoxy resin is used for bigger projects like coasters, trays, and for home decors. Yes. Another difference is that epoxy resin comes in two parts, part A and part B, while UV resin is just one. It's a single, it comes in a one bottle. So that's another difference. Another type of resin is casting resin. Casting resin is designed for deeper and larger projects like resin floors or tables, and it also takes longer time to cure. Now let's answer another common beginner question. How does resin harden? Remember when we talked about the chemical reaction part A and part B? Yes. Once you mix them together correctly, the reaction begins. Yes. Over time, the mixture begins changing from liquid to solid. That's why measurement matters so much in resin art. You need to know your ratios. Once you get your ratios wrong, your project cannot cure. We have different types of resin ratios, but I think I'll talk about that one in a different video because you need to know your ratios before you can create with resin. So once you don't get your measurements correctly, you will have an uncured project or a sticky project. Things every beginner should know before buying resin. Before you buy resin for the first time, there are a few things you should know as a beginner. Number one, read the instructions carefully. Different brands have different mixing ratios. Number two, don't buy large quantities immediately. Start small, then you can increase. Number three, understand that mistakes will happen. That one is inevitable and is completely normal. Number four, prepare your workspace before mixing your resin. Yes. The last one is patience is part of the process. Please don't rush your work. If there is one thing I want you to remember from today's video, it is this: resin is not difficult, it is just complicated. Resin becomes difficult when you don't understand how it works. Once you understand how resin works, the basics, what resin is, how it hardens, and why following instructions matters, you will feel much more confident starting your resin journey. Everyone starts as a beginner, and the goal isn't perfection. The goal is to learn and improve one project at a time. I hope this beginner's guide help you understand resin a little better. And if you're just starting out, let me know in the comments what is one thing about resin that still confuses you. Let me know. If you like more beginner friendly resin tips and educational videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep creating and enjoy the process.